Alright, hello. So today we are going to be talking about Aaron Beauregard. We're going to be talking about Pizza Face, and we're actually just going to be talking about the titular story here. So you may remember, if it's up, I don't know if it is or not, a similar video that I did a bit ago where we were trying to, take a look at a horror novel, generally a short one because I try and read these in like one sitting as I'm taking my notes. So generally a shorter one. And unfortunately nobody died in that one, which kind of made the whole thing kind of moot. But this one, somebody dies because it's Aaron Beauregard. I figured I'd be safe. This is, however, a set of 5 short stories, or novella situations. So we're just talking about Pizza Face this time. Next time we'll talk about Sunday Brunch Gone Awry, then Perfect on the Surface, The Lasting Impressions and Seeds of Tomorrow, and that is that. We're talking about Pizza Face, titular story. So we open up on the book with Arnold, who is your general high school dork who has accepted his mediocrity. He's got a peanut-shaped head, beady little eyes, he's real scrawny, and worst of all, he has just the worst acne. And it's so over the top, this whole acne descriptors. And really, I'm gonna make this clear. I don't think Aaron Beauregard is like that great. I think that he got very popular because he was one of our earliest people who was really capitalizing on self-publishing really gross horror, and he is willing to put stuff down on the page that other people are not. However, is it well written on this page? It's not. It's just not. He writes like an 8th grader. Like his sentences are just not good. So there's that. I don't think he's that good. But in this one we do, I mean, we've got Arnold, but we also meet his rival Ethan Turner, who is kind of a generic high school bully character. This here is at least the first story, I don't know about the rest, but the first story is very loosely based in like it's like the 80s or the 90s, like very clearly. So it's very generic in that way. As always with Beauregard, we do have some really gross descriptors. So like I said, with the acne, so we've got, as a guy, the first thing people look at every day is your face. Having constellations of massive white heads relentlessly sprouting up and discolored ruins running beneath the surface was not a good look. It would never be a good look. Therefore, he was doomed until he eventually matured into something much worse, or God willing, hopefully he would be a late bloomer. Nevertheless, there would be no girls giving him his first kiss anytime soon unless they wanted to come away with their lips covered in effort-oozing discharge. Like, I'm sorry, but if your acne is that bad, you're that guy from Thinner that got a gypsy curse put on you. Like that's what it is. So it goes on to talk about how they, like, him and his parents have really tried everything, and at this point I'm getting frustrated because it's a short story and we're literally like 4 pages in and we're still doing introductions. But eventually we get off. We meet his friend Harry on the boardwalk, and they want to go to this arcade game, and they want to go and play their favorite game, which is Chiller, which is a gruesome band game. It's basically a mass shooting simulator, and it talks up this game a lot to the point where I thought that it was going to be a bigger part of the story, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with the story. It's just a game that they like to play. Like, there's nothing to do with Chiller. Once they're done with that, they walk around and they mourn their general lack of game because neither of them have ever had a girlfriend. And we know Arnold, he's got his pizza face, and Harry is fat, and he is constantly we're constantly reminded of that fact. So we have some there's a weird moment here where they're talking about one of their teachers, because they're talking about whether they're ever going to have a girlfriend, and they mention one of their teachers, and they go like, look at someone like Mr. Milton. He's never even been married. We've never seen him once with a girl ever. Come on, Harry, don't you get it? I think that's a choice. What do you mean a choice? Who would choose to be alone? I mean, he doesn't like girls. Don't you see the way he looks at all the guys in the library? It's really pervy. Which is never brought up again, and it was just a weird thing to focus in on a little bit. I don't know. I think Beauregard was trying to deepen the relationship between Harry and Arnold and make them seem more like friends if they could talk about whatever, but it just was a little bit off-putting. Then they decide to go to fortune teller, and And Arnold is very focused on like, am I ever gonna get a girlfriend? That is his big thing. And the fortune teller does not care about all of this. She is like, I want to focus in on your trauma and revenge. And at this point, it really started to make me feel like I was reading a Goosebumps book that had swear words in it, because this was very much like a be careful what you wish for, revenge are us situation, which I was like a little bit weirded out about. We did have a cool dialogue moment here that I do want to highlight. Or at one point, she finally gets him to stop talking about girls, and she's like, "Do you want him to feel what you feel talking about Ethan?" And he goes, "I want him to feel worse," which I could appreciate. I liked that. Then we swap our point of view. Now we're on Ethan's point of view, and already we have a very different style of writing and situation here. So when we step into Ethan's point of view, I'm just going to read you like the first couple sentences here to kind of show you just how into himself he is. We got Ethan awoke feeling like $1,000,000. He dropped down to the shag rug and separated his arms in the push-up formation. He started his day with 50 push-ups and 100 crunches. And we just go on and on and on about this. It's just him talking for several pages about how cool he is, how he stays this cool, very, very heavy descriptors. But today we learn he stares into the mirror and he realizes that he has acne. And this writing is so heavy-handed. Like, we know that Ethan is a villain already. Like, we already know this, and this writing does so much about telling us that he's a bad guy, when really we could have just seen him and Arnold interact once before we got into all of this. That would have been so much better. Like, even Goosebumps does that. When we have a bully character that we want to get revenge on, in a Goosebumps book, like, we open with the bully character interacting with the main character, and then the main character goes and finds your fortune teller or whatever, and then we get our comeuppance. But here we're just skipping all of that in exchange for like 3 pages of introductions for each point of view. Anyway, so everyone makes fun of Ethan as much as they can. And at this point I was like, this is not really how acne, like, this man should actually go to the emergency room, because this is not normal acne. He skips school to buy acne medication. He oozes all over the cash and the counter. Like, at one point, he, like, the person behind the counter won't take his money, so he throws it at her along with just like a handful of pus. Like, how are we producing this much pus? Like, what's up with this? I don't know. Anyway, his girlfriend breaks up with him because she dates people for their skin. And I only say that because when she breaks up with him, she's talking about how she's going to prom with a new boy and he has nice skin. Like, this is all she cares about. Oh no, tomorrow's school picture day, and they paid extra for the laser background. And I cannot stress how much Beauregard talks. We spend a full paragraph talking about how cool the laser background is, and I'm assuming it's the stereotypical like 90s cool school picture background, but it is ridiculous. And then he goes home and his parents are still laughing at him. And then we skip again. We have 10 days later. And now we learn that Ethan has gone missing. And Harry and Arnold are back on the boardwalk. That's all they do. They go to school, they go to the boardwalk. They're great friends, it's whatever. And they learn that Madame Odessa, the fortune teller, is gone. Like, she's not there anymore. And it looks like nobody's been there for years, which is, again, a very stereotypical kind of trope when it comes to this sort of story. And right here, like, Harry's fat, and the narrative keeps reminding us of this. Like, it is constant. Every time Harry's in a scene, he is eating something, and when we're stressing that he is eating more than his friend, and it's just like we get it, Aaron. We get it by now. Anyway, and what Arnold takes away from this, from the fact that Ethan's face got all gross and that Madame Odessa's gone, is that he's gonna get laid one day, and that's all he cares about at this point. And then we skip to prom night, and they're getting ready, and on the news they say that a store has been broken into and a single tux is gone, and us as readers who have brains can figure out where this tux has gone and who took it and what's going to happen. But our main characters don't really care about that. So at this point, they're at prom, you know, Arnold and Harry, they didn't really get dates, but they went together, you know, just as friends. They're just hanging out, they're having a good time, and Ethan shows up, and he's really gross, and he's become pizza face. And I do want to say that I wrote down this line that looks like just shitty notes that I write down, but it's he to become pizza face. Pizza face is in all caps, and that is exactly how it is written in the book. Like, word for word, which is a lot. Anyway, so Ethan dies. And I'm going to read out his little death scene here because it's a little ridiculous. As the yelling continued, Ethan's head began to distort further, like the reverberations of their voices were straining his cranium. It all came to a head when the largest cone in his skull channeled an enormous eruption. The top left of his head burst open, sending a stream of pimple guts a few feet away and covering Jill's face and entire outfit. She cried out and tried to run, but slipped in the pool of thick white that lay on the once shiny floor that was left lying unconscious in her ex's and was left lying unconscious in her ex's fluid. Ethan fell onto his back not far from her, the contents of his top half flowing freely in nauseating fashion. So he dies by his pimple exploding because people were yelling too loud. Okay, I guess. And then we have another time stick. It says a few days later, and we do get two more kills here. Ethan's parents are found dead, dehydrated, because they just laughed themselves to death. Because every single time they would look at their son, they would just start laughing hysterically. Which and Ethan even says earlier in the story that like they're generally pretty chill people. So don't know what's going on there. And we end with Harry and Arnold on the boardwalk, you know, and it's really, we try to shoehorn in a little message, like maybe we're all just gonna be nicer to each other now. Maybe now it's gonna be just fine. And that's how it ends. So there were three kills total. So the story is 45 pages long. I believe that's about average for I think it's the longest one in the book, but not by very much. That it was a kill on average every 15 pages. Ethan's parents' deaths were pretty dumb. It's pretty lame. The best one was definitely Ethan's, but that's just because it was the only one that was on page. It was ridiculous, and I do generally like I do sometimes really. I do say that I like stupid horror, and I do like stupid horror, but the thing with Aaron Beauregard is that his writing is just, there's no feeling in it, and I know I talk about this every single time I talk about splatterpunk and extreme horror. That's that extreme horror doesn't have any feeling, and Aaron Beauregard is 100% extreme horror. So yeah, that's that. I will be reading the other ones at some point. Do I think they're going to be better than Pizza Face? No. But, you know, we'll see. I did look at some reviews, and apparently these stories in general are a lot tamer than most of Beauregard's other stuff. I've read some other Aaron Beauregard. I read The Slop and I read Dark Assembly, and I will say there was a lot less rape in this one than the other ones. So I guess maybe that's what they mean. But yeah, that's that.